you can't already tell, today was definitely a lot better than yesterday in terms of how confident I felt, like putting on the equipment, you know, and not feeling the anxiety going into the water. Yesterday was really hard mentally, but today I think it was good. I wanted to talk about so what we did today as a dive log, and also things that helped me deal and overcome with the scuba anxiety I was feeling since yesterday. So we went to 2 dive sites today. The first one we went to was the same one we trained on yesterday. So it's very sandy at the bottom. There isn't much coral, which is great because we were still trying to figure out how to be buoyant in the water. So I was like in the sand a lot of the time. It would not be fun if that was like a coral reef with lots of sea urchins. And then the second site you went to after lunch actually had loads of coral fishes and, you know, all the reef you would want to look at. So that one was really fun, and I improved in my buoyancy, so that really helped. So yeah, those are the 2 dive sites we went to. So after realizing yesterday how anxious I was getting into the water, I looked back and was like, why? What is causing my stress? I think a lot of it came from, like, firstly, it was how I actually thought about, you know, the instruction and the warnings. So when you're on the boat, people like to talk about like, oh yeah, like this could happen, your lung could overexpand, like you could have bubbles up here if you don't decompress, and a lot of like scary things that could actually happen if you're not careful. But I think I took it too far and was too empathetic in that I imagined like what it would feel like. I imagined way beyond what I needed to. Like, the point of all that was to tell you to be careful, and I think I was making myself anxious. Today when the topic was brought up and we were warned about several things, like I was like tapping the wood, like touching the wood, you know, on the boat, and just doing stuff to like ground myself and remind myself that, you know, it's a warning, it's not something that's happening to you right now. And I think that really helped me manage the anxiety I felt. So I actually felt less and less anxiety the other day, to the point where I'm like, I want to go down there and see the corals. So I think that's an amazing accomplishment, because yesterday was really like, I was mentally a mess. So I'm glad that we got there today. To get myself ready for the second day of diving, like I definitely tried out visualization. So basically it's just me sitting on my bed and like going through the motions of, you know, how do I put the equipment together, like imagining myself on the boat, and what does it feel like going down, like how would I breathe. So once I imagined myself or visualized like myself doing all this tasks from the beginning of entering the boat to coming out of the water and rescuing my friend who's out of air, like I think I felt like more confident that I actually know the steps. And I don't know if it happens to everyone else, but I was very insecure about, you know, remembering the steps. Like I was really scared and anxious of forgetting to do an important task, especially during the drill. So I think doing the visualizations really helped me by, you know, assuring myself that I know the steps. And that took a relatively, like, a lot of weight off me. The second thing that I did was I meditated in the morning. So, you know, just breathing. I did like 5 minutes of meditation from Headspace to make sure that I was in the correct mental space to take in information if I needed to. The next thing I did today was dealing with the equipment. So yesterday we did a lot of work under the sea, right? And we have like goggles, our tank, our like regulator and everything. And one thing I noticed was how I kept having to clear my goggles again and again, which is very annoying and stressful. It doesn't really help when you're anxious. So today I really made sure that my goggles were tighter, and I asked for help specifically when I realized I didn't know how to tighten it properly. The second thing about my goggle is they kept fogging up. So one of the fun things about diving is seeing the sea creatures under the water. You know, like the fishes, the coral. That is like the best part. Like I really enjoy that, and that's how I at least have fun. But the thing is, when your goggle is fogged up, it's very hard to enjoy yourself, especially when the instructor is like pointing at something. I had to like go up so close to the actual thing to see it because it was too blurry for me. So today I realized that despite cleaning my goggles twice with baby shampoo, like it wasn't it was fogging up for some reason. I don't know why. So I politely asked one of the boat helper to defog my goggle again. And I think that made such a huge difference. Seeing stuff under the sea and not having to hold your goggles or even think about clearing it is the best. So that's like one of the highlights of my day. Another thing I had a problem with in terms of equipment was the fins. So I've never swam with fins before, and we tried using it in the pool on day one of learning everything, and I had like blisters coming out of the pool and it was really uncomfortable. My fin was like hard. So luckily the fins we got on our trip to the sea was softer, so that wasn't a problem. But to prevent blisters, our instructor told us to bring our own socks. And as like unappealing as swimming in wet socks sound, it helps so much. Like just if you think that there's a chance you might be getting blisters from your fins, I'd say bring a spare sock on your first scuba expedition. Like, if you don't use it, just leave it out, but it really makes a difference. Like, I can't imagine going under the sea with the fins that I had in the pool and getting all the blisters. Like, it would not have been a great experience. So that's for equipment. The next thing on the list, so we covered mental things I did, stuff about the equipment, so I made a list. And the next thing I want to talk about is stuff you can bring onto the boat to help you feel more comfortable. My dad likes to go sailing in his spare time when he does have time. So he has like this waterproof pouch. So we put the car keys and our phones in here for just safekeeping, and also, you know, it doesn't get wet, so that's really good. But inside is what's important. So scuba diving, your throat can get really dry. A good way of preventing that is to just drink lots of water, and if you need to pee, just pee in the sea. Like, drink like all along the trip. But we also brought Ricola, which is like a cough drop, and I really highly recommend anyone going scuba diving to bring cough drops, because I think preventative care is better in scuba diving than anything. So when you come out from a dive, you can pop one in your mouth and just have a very nice moist throat for your next dive. It prevents anything uncomfortable happening down there, you know, because you're always breathing through this tube, and it's like, you don't really swallow when you're breathing. It's hard to multitask, especially as a beginner. So I'd say the cough drops really made a huge difference. The next thing in terms of moisturizing is also, like, if you have dry lips, like, I don't know, I think your lips won't get dry in the sea, but I just bought it for like my mental assurance lip balm. It helps. But sunscreen's also a given. You can use anything, but we bought this from 7-Eleven. The last thing that we bought were these. These are called yadom in Thai. So they're like menthol smelling sticks. They come in water form too, and they're amazing when you have seasickness, or even before. Like, I literally like held on to my blue one all day because I was starting to get seasick from moving around the boat. But they are really refreshing, like homeopathic, and great. You don't want to go diving when you're seasick. I mean, you can. Like, our instructor told us that there's some people who are very seasick, but once they get in the water, they're fine. I just don't like the feeling. It's very uncomfortable. So, yeah. And also bring two, because your dad or your friend might need one, and you might lose it rolling along in the boat. So I covered how to prepare yourself mentally, how to make sure your equipment is fine, and also what to bring on the boat. Another thing, the fourth thing I wanted to talk about is your instructor. Because I think your instructor really, he or she is the first person who introduces you to scuba diving, like the breathing technique, how to clear your ears. And I can't say enough good things about the experience I had with mine. Like, I mean, I guess no instructor is perfect, but one thing I really liked and appreciated about my instructor personally was how patient he was with us, and how he taught us things step by step, so we never felt like something was thrown in our way and that we were unprepared. Like, he would make sure that we knew how to clear our mask in the pool before we even moved to like the deep end, and we would have to think about clearing our ears. So everything was really gradual and really great. I also read on the Scuba Anxiety blog last night that you should pick an instructor who you are comfortable expressing your anxieties to, and I believe that the instructor we had, we could tell him how we were uncomfortable. Like, I definitely told him, like, hey, I was nervous here, that scared me, like, oh my god. So I felt better, like, knowing I could communicate with them. So communication, pick someone you are comfortable with communicating with. Okay, so number 5 is going with friends or family who are passionate about scuba or who you know, because I think that really made a difference. Like today I had a friend come over who is really passionate about scuba, and he's the one who like recommended the instructor to me, and I think that really changed the dynamic of the day. Like it really was really fun hearing them both talk about scuba and how like there's so many opportunities to go diving, and I think that really took my mind off like being scared. And it's really nice having an extra person who knows how to dive when you constantly like lose your buoyancy. It's like another hand for your instructor. But if you don't have anyone who's like passionate about scuba, I think taking the lesson with a friend or family who you know rather than a stranger can really help. Like you don't want the added pressure of like making small talk or even, you know, trying to get to know another person when you're learning something that takes this much concentration. Although we did go on a boat with another group who bonded, but they were strangers before they started, so that could work. I just think for me, like I wouldn't want extra thing to think about. Lastly, I think the theory you learn in scuba for the exam really helped me in real life. So two of the things that really stood out to me was, firstly, they said limit your workload. So if you're a beginner, don't take your GoPro down and try to take photos when you don't even know how to balance. Taking it one step at a time, learning one skill at a time, and not overloading yourself, because that can be overwhelming, especially under the water. That helped me today. I was trying to frog kick, and I think I was doing fine, but at the last dive, like there was a lot of stuff to think about. The current was really strong. We were like flailing. We were supposed to swim together, but I noticed my dad disappear, and it's just a lot. And there's also sea urchins on the floor. I seriously have a grudge against sea urchins. And also like the corals were at different levels and the depth kept changing. So it was like I had to clear my ears, like look at the sea urchin, try to be balanced. And I realized that adding the froggy kick on top of everything was a bit too much. So my friend like noticed me trying it, so he was like, look at me, I can show you. But once I kind of realized that once he told me like to look at him, that I didn't want to add this workload, so I ended up just doing the normal like kicking style and gave up on the froggy for the rest of the dive because I wanted to focus on just maintaining control of my depth. So I think that really helped, because once I did that, it was definitely less stressful. My favorite part about Stop, Breathe, Think and Act is how it really like it's simple and it works. Like when you're underwater, I think breathing really helps. Like if you can breathe properly, you know, like it just takes away a lot of stress, because I think a lot of the things we're stressed out about is us not being able to breathe. Like, oh my god, the water is coming in the mask, what happens? It goes in your nose, can't breathe. So that's like a source of anxiety. So I think that the way you're taught to like, okay, whatever happened, like whenever something goes wrong, make sure you can breathe. I think that is the golden rule. So yeah, it was really useful for me because I was literally like either sinking deep into the ground or like floating way up because I didn't know how to adjust my BCD. I started to like ascend super quickly and I was like, no, this isn't happening. But I remembered that it happened before and how my instructor helped me come up right and then just like press the button to let the air go. I did that. Like I actually stopped, I breathed my air and I was like, let's do this, and made myself go upright and imitate what he did with me. And it worked. I let all the air out of my equipment. I breathed out so that there's less air in my body, so that I could come back to the level where everyone was. Like my dad was literally like looking for me. I could see from being like float high above everyone that he was like looking 360, but he couldn't find me. I mean, my friend did come up and help me, but I did press that button, so that should like count as something. I forgot one thing. The same question. So how tiring is scuba diving actually? Well, today there's a different answer. It can be tiring. Today we went to a different dive site where the current was actually stronger, and goodness, like I think swimming against the current wasn't too bad because we are slightly sheltered and the fins helped a lot. But once you're like up on the surface and trying to swim back to the boat, that was really tiring. But my dad's side of the story, however, he was telling us how tiring it was for him, like super exhausting. Like once he got on the boat, he was done. So I think in that case, scuba diving can be very tiring if you swim in an area with high current. The equipments are very heavy. Like, the stuff you carry on yourself is super heavy, and you need to carry it up and walk to the edge of the boat and go down. So if you have like back issues or anything like would stop you from doing that, then in a sense it would be super hard for you to do it. But those are the only two main things I could think about in this area. So yeah, that is the end of my very unorganized scuba debrief. If I had to pick things that I wish I did, definitely one of them would be to ask for a dive log. We didn't really get the dive log book, but it's like a diary of like where you dive and what you saw, how deep you went, and also how you use your air. So I hope that when we go to Bangkok, we can actually go to the dive shop where our instructor came from and get some, because I saw the other group do it and I think it's a great activity and it can help you learn more about yourself as a diver. So that is it. I'm kind of sad it ended. Like yesterday I said I couldn't imagine this as a hobby. I mean, I'm not completely like not scared of diving anymore. It's just I want to go on a diving trip. It's really inspiring. Like to I don't know, I can't explain it. It's just, yeah, things definitely changed from today and yesterday, and I will miss it a lot. But there's stuff to do. Real life, back to reality. If anyone is interested in scuba diving, I would say that it's worth it. And just let me know if you have any questions, or ask the experts, not me. I just wanted to share my experience because scuba has been something that I have thought about since I was like in high school, but I was too scared to try. You should try it, and if you don't like it, you don't have to do it again, but try it. You only live once.